Welcome to another episode of UnWoke Academy. I'm Jonathan Broadbent, your host. We are where freedom economy meets follow the money. We're also the originator and creators and founders of what I believe to be the world's first Financial Private Membership Association, or PMA for short. If you've been reading or hearing about PMA, then we've taken that application, the idea of the privacy designed around private membership associations, and applied it to the world of finance. Hoorah! So we're going to get rid of as much of the creepy, invasive data mining tech as we can. And I do comment often and regularly and investigate and research different financial platforms out there. One of the nice things about not being affiliated with or tied to any of them, I can go anywhere, look at any of them, and do my research and comment on them. So I'm going to kick things off with a really cool, I'm looking at my phone. Sorry to look away. I'm talking to you. I'm going to look at my phone because I made some notes earlier. I was listening. So I actually try to generally avoid YouTube because YouTube can be almost as infuriating as Facebook and places like it that went woke left, and they just did goofy stuff to those of us who are paying attention and care, the awake, but it doesn't completely stop me from putting stuff there. And I will admit, the screen captures are sometimes successful. So I go on to drop a short, hoping that some of the YouTube audience may catch that and be introduced to UnWoke Academy. So I include some shorts and stuff there. And I do actually put most of the episodes up, the ones that I think I can get away with, where they're not going to come back and try and ding me or whatever. But the thing recently that the algorithms on YouTube have figured out is that I actually am drawn to those reaction videos. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, I'm not going to suggest going onto YouTube. I'll just paraphrase what it is. Avoid YouTube if you can. But if you're one of those people that still likes YouTube, when you go there are these reaction videos, and they're usually younger people, men and women, kids, whatever, who are being exposed to some music or something for the first time. And I think it's kind of cool. And the big thing that's shown up, probably because it's about a 1-year anniversary, is Richmond, North of Richmond, from Oliver Anthony. So remember when that was a big craze? Actually, there are a lot of reaction videos. And basically what it is people, a lot of them are vocal coaches or musicians or whatever, who click go, and you're watching them react to it real time for the first time. And one of them earlier today, and there's a whole parade of them. I think based on my musical interests, the fact that really hit me, I think it hit most everybody else, all sane people everywhere who listen to Richmond, North of Richmond from Oliver Anthony. If you haven't listened to it recently, or if you haven't heard it at all, if you're one of the 40 people left on planet Earth that hasn't watched that video of Oliver Anthony, go find it. I think you'll find it on real platforms as well. You can tell I'm not a fan of YouTube, taking shots at them. You'll find it other places, probably Vimeo or whatever. Wherever you go, watch that video. And it was in a reaction video that I caught earlier today while trying to drop a short to try and tease people to come on over and check out UnWoke Academy, that I heard a gentleman react to the video, and then he made the following comment. And it was awesome. I loved it. I went back and re-listened to it and captured what he had to say. So this is a music coach reacting to that Oliver Anthony song. He said, "The real way for you to free yourself and to take control of your life is for you and you alone to believe in yourself enough to take control of your own life. The true fight is within." I'm going to read that again because it factors into the discussion I'd like to have today. The real way for you to free yourself and to take control of your life is for you and you alone to believe in yourself enough to take control of your own life. The true fight is within. So I grew up in the 80s, and the 80s, if you're young enough to have heard the stories, many of them are actually true. The 80s were kind of a wild time. I'm just going to paraphrase. I, I, I went to a lot of bands and shows and musical performances, and just all kinds of stuff. And the 80s were kind of the real beginnings, I think, of just a party generation. And it was ridiculous. A lot of it was completely ridiculous. I remember, this is an aside, but it's sort of indicative of a lot of the experiences that some of us in the 80s had. I lived in an area where it was a sort of a densely populated area with a lot of apartment buildings and really good public transportation. So a lot of people lived in a small area, and we were constantly meeting people, and there just seemed to always be like bands and parties and whatever. And trust me, getting back to UnWoke and where we're headed with this. But one of the times I was with some friends, I was invited over to go and meet with some other people that they knew. And I went into this apartment for the first time, and it was just an otherworldly, bizarre experience. I can't begin to describe. And interestingly enough, it was my first exposure to a spectacular musician named Leonard Cohen. To this day, I'm still a big fan of Leonard Cohen. He was referred to as the musician's musician. But anyway, there was a couple in this apartment who were very heavily into drugs. They had almost no furniture. It was a pretty good size apartment, and it had hardwood floors, very sparsely furnished. So I ended up standing the whole time. And the guy, it was a male and female, boyfriend, girlfriend. The guy had his shirt off the whole time, and tattooed across his abdomen was the giant kind of what's the typeface I want to describe? Sort of a Celtic, I think. A huge print tattooed right above his belly button across his entire front abdomen was the word fixed, meaning that he was on drugs, and he was proud of it and had a huge tattoo. There was a whole generation that did a lot of drugs. We're doing all kinds of stuff, and we're drunk and stoned and high a lot. Ultimately, I have an absolute crystal clear understanding of what resulted. Many of them are dead. Many of them, I think, still party and get drunk and high and do drugs. But mostly, people hit bottom and realized that no amount of outside pressure, no number of people or trips to rehab would ever actually help them until they were ready to help themselves. That brings me back to that. I'm going to read it again in that context. I hope I've sort of changed the lens a little bit. The real way for you to free yourself and to take control of your life is for you and you alone to believe in yourself enough to take control of your own life. The true fight is within. I've known many of those people, and I was friends with a number of people who were in bands. I could tell some stories, but some of my friends could tell some real stories. One of my good friends is actually went all the way in a band. He's got 3 platinum albums, 2 gold. We're in regular touch, and he tells me stories about touring the world. One of my classmates actually is still the front man for one of the largest, huge band. He showed me pictures in front of a crowd of over 1 million people, 1,700,000, I think, that were estimates. And he was, these are there on stage. The things that these people have seen, and the amount of just sort of allowing ourselves to go, and moral decay and depravity is sort of unheard of, unexperienced by most. But there's a common truth behind those people who end up hitting rock bottom and decide for themselves, I'm no longer going to wait for other people. I'm not going to wait and hope that somebody puts me in a certain type of jail cell or in rehab or juvie, that's juvenile detention facility. If you're young enough, those lucky people who see the path that they're on and decide to self-correct, it has to come from within. Ultimately, it has to come from within. There are plenty of people who are doing something bad, drugs or uh, fraud or crime, whatever. If they're feeling that they're getting away with it or enjoy it or feel like that's their only choice, they'll continue to do that until they themselves decide otherwise. That it has to come from within. That's ultimately my point. That's a concept and a mindset that is lost on many Americans. I think it's coming back, but this idea that somebody else has it, somebody else is going to fix the broken thing, it's got to go. If you follow me on social media, you may know, this is unrelated, but in my experience, it's a big part of my life. Twice a week, I co-host a segment on the social media platform X, focusing on something called precinct strategy, which encourages people to get involved at the local level in politics. Put simply, that's what it is. It's not until people come to the realization that nobody's coming to help. You are that change that you want to see. There isn't that outside force that's going to come and assert itself and fix things the way that you want them to be. You have to be the change that you want to see in the world. It's a difficult conclusion to come to for some people. Some people start with that at a very young age. They feel self-empowered. They feel in control, and they feel like they can tackle life and assert themselves. I think what we've experienced is around 50 to 70-ish years of an education system and an environment and pop culture and an entire economy and TV and media based upon teaching people to be helpless, to feel like somebody else is going to do the thing for them. That led to lethargy in politics. It led to a lot of people buying into the COVID narrative that if you wore one mask or two, or wore the mask upside down and on the back of your head, and stood 6 feet or 8 feet of social distance, or if you went out and got a whole bunch of jabs of experimental new things that everybody now recognizes included some substances that are harmful, and it bought into that protocol, that narrative of I'm afraid somebody else is going to fix it. I am going to allow worry or fear to override my instincts to assert myself and ask questions. Social media didn't help because a lot of us were shut down for asking questions or canceled. But ultimately, when it comes to fixing the things that we don't like in life and the world around us, it comes down to us. The politicians aren't going to show up and fix it. It's not going to happen. Might be hopeful, might look at some politician or somebody somewhere and think, wow, they're talking this exciting thing. And to put that into context, there's a lot of conversation taking place in my state of Ohio around Vivek Ramaswamy. And my comment is, I really like the way that he sounds. Yes, I acknowledge that there are questionable parts to his history and background, and I understand the people that are cautious. And at this point, he has been endorsed for our next governor and may win. But I'm still telling people, it doesn't matter if it's Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Vivek Ramaswamy or whatever. That person, hopefully they do something or some things that are helpful, but for the real stuff that you want in your life, It's you. It comes down to you having the tenacity, the courage, the oomph, the spine, and wherewithal to assert yourself and make decisions for yourself. That brings us to Wall Street, because Wall Street wants you feeling confused, helpless, derelict. They want you feeling like you can't have control. So oh my gosh, the markets are volatile and this is up and that's down. And oh my, what do we do about tariffs? And that's fear porn. It's meant to make you fearful and feel like you can't exercise control and have you default in very similar fashion. I use the analogy all the time between what's happening in the world of finance right now to what happened during COVID. It's the same thing in my book. You have top-down dictators, top-down tyrannical control. So let me make sure that that's a fine point, because I want everybody to understand this. My current understanding of the medical marketplace, and again, I'm just using this as an analogy to my world of finance. Big Pharma has enough money that they exert massive undue influence over hospital systems. They have used the creation of protocols to dictate what doctors may or may not do, which drives profits. I think I'm waiting for somebody to show up to argue that I'm wrong there. That's unhealthy. It means that very few people, or almost nobody, in that setting is getting the actual learned medical advice of their doctor. Their doctor, in their clear cases of this, their doctor was threatened with having their licensure removed if they did what they felt was in the best interests of some clients. That included exploring and even talking about things that were other than the jab during COVID. That's our analogy. Coming back to the world of finance, you have mega globalist banks that control investment management in the trillions of dollars that exert undue, inappropriate influence over Wall Street. By the way, don't get me started on Wall Street. They really turned their back, not universally, but overwhelmingly, on Main Street America and Western values a long time ago. And under the auspices of, originally it was pursuit of profit, and now it's the veneer of these social justice movements. They very little attention is truly paid to using the trillions of dollars to shape economies of the future. It's mass marketed mega control in a very bad, harmful, and inappropriate way. But anyway, that's a tangent. Wall Street is unduly affected by those money managers, the investment bank, globalist money managers, portfolio managers. That's inappropriate. There are financial institutions now that use a stick and a carrot to force advisors, and again, there's my air quote again, advisors. Advisors used to be brokers, and brokers used to pride themselves on research and study and due diligence. Now we have arguably the opposite, where advisors aren't allowed to do that. They can't ask questions, or they're going to be smacked down by the very institution that's above them, that controls them and gives them their paycheck. That's wildly inappropriate and unhealthy. Ultimately, it comes down to you. It comes down to us. It comes down to your willingness to, just like you might go into that doctor's office and ask them, is this jab really good for me? Does it stop the spread? What harmful ingredients are in it? What research has been done? If you're not doing it already, or it seems startling and revolutionary, if it's an amazing concept to you to go to your financial advisor and ask how much of your money is invested in things like woke, the companies you might be boycotting, or referring back to that interview that I did with Justin Bernier from National Security Index, is your money going to fund the growth and expansion of the military for the Communist Party of China? The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, it's been, in my book, it was clearly articulated to our Congress early 2024 via the CPA report that some of our money is flowing through offshore managers, and we are quite literally funding the research and development of a more advanced Navy, Air Force, and military might, including nuclear capabilities of the Chinese Communist Party. If you're not willing to go in and ask your financial institution whether or not your money is going into funding any of that, all of it, if you're not willing to ask, how woke are you, then ask yourself, why not? Why aren't you? Why wouldn't you want to know? Just like you want to know what's being injected into your arm. What's in that shot? What's in it? Is it okay? Is it harmful? Ask the same questions of your portfolio. You're working with a financial institution. Money is all the time constant. That's the purpose of capital markets. Money is being used to define our future. It's funding the companies that we want to see in the future, and it is limiting capital to the companies that we don't want to see in the future, which brings me to the globalist bubble, and I'll conclude with that. We've seen the vast majority, overwhelming, massive surpluses of money funneled into very few companies. Big, globalist, overfunded, I argue, ridiculously overvalued. And if I'm right, that's a bubble. But it also means that all the companies that you might be excited about, that might show up on your radar and become the next new thing, the next big thing, they don't have money. They're underfunded. That brings us to everything that we're fighting for at UnWoke.academy. Go out there, find out what you're funding, pay attention, take a look. In previous episodes, I even go into helping you to understand how to look under the hood of the mutual funds that you own. If you have an IRA or 401k or some broker or advisor or whatever somewhere has sold you on those things, it's actually pretty easy with the internet to figure out at least the major holdings of the mutual funds. And if it's woke, ask for something different. Defund the woke. I'm Jonathan Broadbent. This has been another episode of UnWoke.academy. Thanks for listening.